Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another model showcase for you guys. So the last video I made was the review, and I actually wasn't planning to really mess around with the engine until in a future date, but I was like, screw it, you know what, I already have it at the workshop, that desk. So I might as well attempt upgrades now. There's no harm in doing it now. It's not like anything's gonna change, you know, two years down the line if I choose to do it then. So I figured I'd give it a shot now. So this engine, if you didn't see the product review, had a bunch of things I didn't really like about how it was made, but the two most noticeable things that I thought were easy to change, yet also really bothered me, at least in the visual appearance department. As you know, I really am particular about my details and appearance. So the two main things was the headlight having a weird like bulge in the rear, which is designed to hold the LED, and the really thick running boards. And so I spent a solid amount of time, probably about 4 hours, really carefully modifying these things. So I want to show you guys the three things I've done. So the very first thing I did was paint the wheels, the lead truck, and the axle tips on the wheels. As you know, BLI never paints those things, and it's always looks weird to me, so I decided to paint them. I just used Scale Coat 2. And yeah. Now for the running boards, this was kind of a pain because these running boards they're plugged in. They are plastic, but they are, mounted through some plugs. However, some of them are glued, especially in the rear here. So I had to very carefully, I took apart the shell and I kind of drilled through the plugs, so I can pull them out better. So the plugs still work. They do still mount the boards. They're not loose. I can't just pull them out right now. But the plugs, it basically drilling them enabled me to pull them out, instead of, using pliers and wrenching them out. So that took actually the longest time. That was actually the hardest part, believe it or not. Removing the running boards, removing all the details. In fact, I have some photos here. So here's the stock running boards. As you can see how thick they are. They're massive. And here's actually a before and after. That's the thick one. That's the really thin one. Anyways, so I took the running boards out, as you can see here, and then I just basically very carefully sanded them. Now, the idea is to not necessarily sand the entire board because there's plugs on the bottom that, details mount to. Like these pipes mount to the running board. Actually, there's a little divot like that. And the idea is basically to not sand that away, but just to sand like the outside, like the outer side, the side that's closest to, us. Finer, to have like a sort of like an angle down. This way the outside of the running board is very thin, but the inside is still the same thickness to preserve that, that rigidity that you need, because when you hold the engine, you're usually holding the running boards. So yeah, I also sanded the front down, so this way it's not like you can't see the angle taper on the front, but this side's also, very flat. So that was also it wasn't that difficult. It just took a lot of time, very carefully sanding it. I think I used 320 grit sandpaper. Anyways, took a lot of sand. Just again, make sure you don't sand away anything you don't want to sand away. But that being said, sanding, also making sure it's very level and smooth. It really was important. And you can see it turned out really, really great. It's much finer now. It's not super, it's not like, it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb like the factory thick running boards, to me at least. Because for whatever reason, that really bothers me. So you can see on both sides, they look so much better now. And the details did mount back into place. So, the details are still rigid. They're a little bit looser now, but they honestly look fine to me. So that's a huge improvement in my opinion. It was kind of tedious, but because they are very fragile. And the more you sand away, the more fragile they get because they are plastic. But in my opinion, it's a well worth upgrade, and it looks a lot better, and it's still rigid enough where you can lift the engine up without damaging it. So yeah. And the final thing I changed was the headlight. So the factory headlight had that weird bulge, as I said. Let me find a picture. You can see that really big bulge in the rear, and that's used actually to hold an SMD LED in place. There's a little PCB. Let me see if I can find a picture of it here. So I had to chop away part of the PCB. This PCB was actually about this long, and I chopped it down. And I resoldered some wires to it. I used some magnetic wire to thread through there, make it a little easier. And then I put I basically cut a piece of styrene out that was a circular, and I fitted it into the rear. That was flush mounted to the headlight, and then I just glued the LED from the front in. I removed the lens. You could easily remove this headlight lens, by the way, just using a little bit of putty, just like I did in the review. You could just stick it in and then pull it out, just like that. But anyways, yeah, so now that LED is mounted inside, and now the headlight looks far more flush, and it still works. It's fully functional. I soldered it back into the PCB on the back of the headlight casting, or the smoke box, sorry. So yeah, this, in my opinion, also looks a whole lot better. No big bulge in the back that looks really weird and uncanny. So yeah, overall, I think these appearance improvements makes this engine look so much better. And honestly, with a little bit of weathering, you know, get rid of that factory coated perfect paint scheme. With a little bit of weathering and stuff, this engine could look, it could blend in with brass, honestly. It looks really, really good now, I think. Maybe change the marker lights as well, because they are also a giveaway of how obvious this is a BLI engine. But honestly, this blends in a lot better now, in my opinion, with brass engines, because there's no noticeable, you know, die-cast pieces. I mean, the only part here is like still this part's still kind of thick, but you really can't change that without significant modifications. So, yeah. Also, since this is molded in at a black plastic, there was no need to repaint the bottom, because it's not super duper. It's not like white plastic where you can see it. So there's no need to repaint or anything like that. So it's honestly not that difficult of a modification. And as I said, I spent around 4 hours doing all this, you know, while like listening to a podcast in the back, and it was very relaxing. So anyways, I think this engine looks a lot better now. I think if you are confident in not destroying your engine, I would recommend, and you know, if you think it does look better, if you agree with me, then I think also anyone else with this model should also do it to their engine. I think it significantly improves the appearance of this engine, and yeah. In any case, though, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was helpful to some people, just to show that it is possible to achieve, you know, better looking detail in this engine. I'm really glad at how it turned out, and yeah. If you have any questions or comments, please comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. I'll see you. Bye.